Welcome to the World United. Welcome to the World United.
LEOBOWITZ. Sam LEOBOWITZ, known as the Conscious Consultant, is a mentor, coach, speaker, healer, and serial entrepreneur. He has been in business since 1993 and has owned several successful businesses. His current venture includes the Conscious Consultant, a coaching and mentoring service which promotes sensible, ethical, moral, and conscious ways to build career and businesses. Talking Alternative Broadcasting, an internet radio station which reaches over 120 countries and 300,000 listeners worldwide. And Double Diamond Wellness, a healing center in the heart of Manhattan. In these various roles, Sam has inspired hundreds of people to live a life that is happier, healthier, and more fulfilling. Sam has lectured in several venues in New York City, including being featured speaker at the TEDx 2016. Thank you so much, Sam, for being on our platform. Today, your topic is spreading your spiritual message online through podcasting. Over to you, Sam.
Thank you so much. And I really want to thank Dr. Yugandhar for having me a part of this conference. And it just, to me, highlights so much the importance of community, because had it not been like Robert being part of the Evolutionary Business Council and being so involved with that organization, I probably never would have heard of this. I never would have gotten invited. So it's something to keep in mind of the importance of community. So let me share my screen. And we're here to talk about spreading your spiritual message online through podcasting. So let me just give you a little bit about me, like who am I? You heard a little bit from my introduction. But yeah, I've been an entrepreneur since '93. I'm director and executive producer of Talking Alternative Broadcasting, where we're not actually a podcasting network. We're a little bit different. We're more like an internet radio station, but we also record and put out the podcast afterwards. I've been running the station now over 10 years. It's talkradio.nyc. I've produced thousands of episodes. I've worked with dozens of different hosts. We reach people from over 120 countries around the world. And last year, we reached over 300,000 people. We stream live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And so today I want to talk about sort of spreading your spiritual message through podcasting. And this is really, I'm looking to reach the people out there who have something inside of them that they feel they want to express and get out there, and maybe you're not so sure about how to do it or why to do it, and is podcasting sort of the right opportunity? Maybe you're thinking about it, and if you're already doing it, great. I'm sure you'll pick up some things, but I really want to encourage people, if you're even considering it, I'm going to talk about sort of what podcasting can do for you in terms of your spiritual message, how podcasting actually helped to get my own message out there, and why podcasting is really a good investment of your time and your money, because those are always, right, the two biggest things that hold us back. We feel that we don't have the time, or it costs too much if we're working with a network like mine or getting people to help us out. But really, it's not an expense, it's an investment. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So what can podcasting do for you? So first of all, it's one of the best ways to get your message out around the globe. If you have something burning inside of you, you've had an enlightened experience, you have something that you feel people around the world are just, they need to hear this. It's one of the quickest, easiest ways to get your message out to a global audience, because once you've put it out there online, anybody, anywhere could potentially find it. So you're not limited geographically. You're not limited even by language, because people listen to different language podcasts all over the world. The other thing that podcasting does is it gives you recorded content that can be repurposed many, many ways. And this is one of the real hidden gems about podcasting that people don't often think about. We have ideas, we have messages. As Robert said, like he got up and he typed in, his message of the day every day for 4 years. Once you type it, once you record it, now you have it. What can you do with it? Well, with a podcast, it's again primarily audio, but you can create videos from it. You can add some pictures to it to create slideshows with it. You can use it. I've used little audio clips from my show and from the shows on my network as part of presentations that I've given. You can really get very creative. It can be part of your marketing material. It can be a part of a way of getting your message out there where it's done in your own voice. And this is something to keep in mind, that with a podcast, you're using your own voice. So people get to hear you. And there's something about our tonality, the timbre of our voice, how we speak, our mannerisms, that will just naturally appeal to your tribe. Now, it might not appeal to other people, then those people aren't part of your tribe. They're not part of your community. But for those people that you appeal to, they get a sense, an emotional connection to you because they're hearing your voice. And that can be a very, very powerful connection. It enhances your credibility and your authority in your field. As was mentioned in my intro, I managed to become a TEDx speaker at TEDx Upper West Side back in 2016. Now, at that time, I'd done various different public speaking, but I didn't have a promo reel. I wouldn't consider myself a professional speaker. But what was it that got the organizer to agree to consider me to become part of that TEDx? It was the fact that at that time I'd had over 5 years of doing interviews, of interviewing people and talking on my own podcast. And because I also did video with it, I was able to send him links to several different videos so he could see how was I when I interact with people, how was I when I was just talking myself. And because of that, and because I could say, well, I have my own internet radio show for the last 5 years, he agreed, and I made it through the semifinals, and I was able to be a featured speaker. I'm not so sure that would have happened had I not been doing my show for all that time. It adds a certain level of credibility and authority that when you are putting your message out there, when you're spreading the word about whatever your message is, whether it's love, connection, spirit, it really does enhance what you already have. And another one of those sort of hidden gems that people often don't think about is it's a great way to create alliances with like-minded people. I've had Robert on my show. I'm going to be speaking with Melinda shortly, who's kind of in the same industry. I cannot tell you how many friends, how many strategic alliances I've been able to create with people merely because I agree to have them on my show. Because when you have somebody on your show, first you got to talk to them ahead of time, right? So you get a chance to talk to them a little bit. You get them on your show. Now, my show happens to be an hour long. I do my show every Thursday at 12 noon Eastern New York time, called the Conscious Consultant Hour, but I have them for an hour. And so I get to ask them questions. I get to really know them. And then I follow up. If there's something about them that I feel we really connected and we really liked each other, I followed up with them afterwards. And now I've got my foot in the door. I've got something that I've really just shown up in service. I've just given them something. I've given them an opportunity to get access to my tribe. And so they feel good about me because I've not asked anything of them. And all I've done was shown up and given them in service. As a matter of fact, when it comes to the Evolutionary Business Council, when I first met Teresa Degrobois, I'm in New York. She was in Calgary at the time, I believe, in Canada. We never met face to face, but I had her on my show. And then she introduced me to other members of the Evolutionary Business Council, and I had them on my show. And after meeting all these great people, I was like, I need to join this organization. And she's like, yeah, come on board. And over the years, all I did was just show up, have people come on. I then started going to events eventually and created those connections. But one of the reasons why my book, Everyday Awakening, became a #1 bestseller in the United States and a bestseller in a couple of other countries is specifically because of the alliances that I built with various members of the Evolutionary Business Council. Robert, I met 2.5, maybe almost 3 years ago in California, and at that particular deep dive we were at, there were so many people that just resonated in my heart and I felt was part of my soul family. And because people have seen me showing up in this organization, having people come on my show, just being in service, and that's just who I am, they were more than happy to support me when I launched my book. And I was absolutely floored, when I sent out all these emails asking people, hey, would you be willing to be a supporter for my book launch campaign? And I had over 100 people come back and say, yes, I'll be a supporter for you. And it just floored me. But why? It's because I created this connection. I created this alliance. I created this community, for lack of a better word, through bringing people onto my show. There's so much power in it. I cannot emphasize this particular point enough. So how has podcasting just helped me to get my own message out there? Well, as I mentioned, I've attracted a worldwide audience, not just from being out there, but also from my guests, because I've had guests come on my show from all over the world. As a matter of fact, I remember early on, it was probably about 2 years, maybe 3 years after I started my show. And when we're in studio, we have a call-in number where people can call in. And I remember there was this one show, my guest didn't show up. And so I was just talking and talking on whatever the topic was that was supposed to be that day. And a gentleman calls in, and I was talking about parents and relating to our children and being a good example, and how distracted we can be with the phones at dinner and stuff. And he calls in and he says, I can't believe you're talking about this. I have the exact same challenge with my family and my children. And I could tell he has a little bit of an accent. So I asked him where he was calling from. And he says, oh, I'm calling from Delhi, India. And I was floored. There's somebody listening, not just listening to my show, but they were motivated enough by what I said to actually call me in New York City from India. And although we have an 800 number, the 800 numbers don't work internationally. He used the regular 212 number and called up, or he used Skype or something. But it just, that really early on just showed me the power of what can happen to attract people. Another great way to get your message out through podcasting is once it's recorded, and this kind of goes back to one of my earlier points, you can now take these shows and get them transcribed. And this is actually what I've done. And this will be my second book. It was originally going to be my first book, but things got messed up. So it's going to be my second book. But I have transcripts of 13 different episodes of not me interviewing people, but me just talking about a particular topic, which now I have those transcripts. Now I have to go and read through them myself, edit them a bit, see what new information comes through me. But I already have like the structure and the starting point. It'll be so much easier to now create my second book because I have these transcripts from my past episodes. So again, there's so many ways to repurpose this content, and do not underestimate the power of recording what you're saying and where you are at a certain time and then revisiting it later. I know there are probably certain things in those transcripts I said at the time that now I might modify a little bit. I might tweak it a little bit. I might make it a little bit more relevant to what's going on today, but still there's value in there. There are gems in there I don't even remember. As I mentioned before, it's how I became a TEDx speaker. There are so many ways in which you can use it. Not only that, I've been asked to come on several summits. I've been asked to be part of events like this one. But by getting your message out through podcasting, you're able to reach such an audience and have an effect that you would not even conceive of. And it built my connection to these influences and teachers. In the last year, I've had on such luminaries as Dr. Raymond Moody, who wrote Life After Life, through with the launch of someone else's book called Our Moment of Choice. I had on Lynn McTaggart, best-selling author of the Intention Experiment and the Field. John Perkins, author of Confessions of an Economic Hitman. I'm able to bring in these influential people, and because I've created this relationship with them, it's helped to raise my visibility, and it's helped me to get my message out there. Okay, so why is it a good investment of your time and money, right? That's what everyone wants to know. Hey, it's going to cost me some time, some money. It takes some effort. Yes, it does. But it's one of the least expensive ways to get your voice heard. You don't need a lot of fancy equipment. I do recommend you get a good microphone for your computer. But look, if you have a computer, you have good internet access, you get a decent mic. If you're going to do video, a reasonable camera, it is one of the least expensive ways to get your voice out there and get people to connect with you. As I've mentioned over and over again, you record once, you reuse many times and in many different formats. You meet other amazing thought leaders, people you couldn't have imagined. Like Robert said, right? He got a chance to connect with Dr. Joe Vitale, one of my heroes. It's just amazing what can bring to you. Now, one of the key things is if you're going to do this, you need to stick with it. And this is where a lot of people fall down. There was just a statistic in a report recently that floored me that said the average number of episodes for the over 1.3 million podcasts out there was 12. 12. That's nothing. There was an article last year in the New York Times that said that at the time there was like half the number of podcasts. So it's growing tremendously. It was like 700,000 podcasts, but they cited that between March and May of last year, less than 19% of them came out with a new episode. If you're not doing it consistently and you're not sticking with it for the long haul, any effort you've put towards it, you've lost. You've let go of it. It takes time to build it up. It can take years, but the rewards are tremendous. Just as an example, on my network, I have a gentleman, Tony Martinetti, who does a show all about nonprofits. He stayed with me. He's been with me 10 years. It took about 4 or 5 years for his show to really be recognized, but then he started getting mentioned on all these nonprofit industry blogs as a thought leader to follow. And he's now the #1 nonprofit podcast in the world. And he has more than double the number of subscribers than even the second runner-up for it. But because he stuck with it and he did it in service the whole time. And it's a wonderful, wonderful way to stay top of mind with the people whom your work resonates with. We put out these messages, we support people, we let people know what we're talking about. But if we're not putting something out consistently and we're not supporting them along the path, they're lost and they're on to the next person. We're not there. We're not top of mind. But by putting something out on a weekly basis consistently, we stay top of mind. They follow our work, and then our community that builds up around it, they're the first people to buy our books, to enroll in our programs, to listen to what we're talking about. This is so, so important, and consistency is so key. So what can podcasting do for you? Lots. How has podcasting helped to get my message out there? In more ways than I could ever imagine. And I've been doing my show a little over 10 years now, and I feel like I'm just getting started, that now I'm really hitting my groove, and I feel like the future is brighter than ever before. And why is it a good investment of your time and the money? Well, it's all up to you and what you decide to do with it. You can be as creative as you want to be with it, and you can do things maybe nobody has ever thought of. And that can really support you in getting your message out and doing more with what you're trying to do in creating more positive change in this world. Look, people are stuck at home. They're looking for a positive message. There's not a better time ever to get your message out there. If anyone afterwards, if they want to advice, they want to questions or whatever, please feel free to contact me. And I've also put up a link to a recording of a webinar I did before, detailing all kinds of success stories with people doing podcasts, and that's links.talkradio.nyc/success recording. I'll stop recording. Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here. I feel very, very honored to be here with so many luminaries. There's so many people throughout this whole conference that are just heroes of mine that are here. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Yugandhar. This is really something beautiful and special that you've put together. And I look forward to seeing the future of the World Spirituality Parliament.